All right, everybody, welcome back to the B-side. My name is David Snipes from SurveyBag.com, and welcome to part two of Hogan versus Flair. In case you missed it last week, we kind of talked about the job of a wrestler. Just to quick sum up, it is basically to reinforce the brand, to make the casual fan into a hardcore fan, to make the hardcore fan spend his or her hard-earned money on that product. You know, it's to sell tickets, to sell merchandise, to make sure that the next time that wrestling show comes to your town, you are buying tickets, to make sure that pay-per-view is coming up. You're buying that product. Whenever there's new content on the network, you're upping your subscription, that you're tuning in every Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday night that the product is on, and you sign up to watch that character. It is not purely selling tickets. It is not purely selling t-shirts. It is not purely selling ice cream bars. It is making your brand and your company's brand more successful. Same way, in my opinion, an NFL player's job is to make sure that you're watching the NFL, not the NBA. Zion's job is to make sure that the Pelicans are the number one ticket in New Orleans, not the Saints. Drew Brees is obviously trying to make the NFL the main product, not the NBA, to make sure that if a family is sitting at home and they're like, I can buy one ticket to one game this year, Zion wants it to be the NBA, Drew wants it to be the NFL, that's how that goes. And of course, LSU wants to be LSU, but not exactly like their profit sharing. Uh, so, big question is, who's the better wrestler, Hogan versus Flair? And as much as I hate Hogan with a passion, it's got to be Hogan. And here's why. And I want you to really understand this is where I'm coming from. Who could have done Hogan's job for him? Okay, this is what I need. If you go back to 1983, Hogan comes in December. They put the title on him in 1984. They're off to the races. But if you're Vince McMahon sitting in your office, summer 1983, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do my national expansion. Who do I build it around? Because obviously I need to build it around a face. All right, first and foremost, basically I need a superhero. I need Captain America in tights. I need somebody that is a decent talker, decent worker, can stick to my game plan. I've got a finishing maneuver I can put on a poster. I need basically somebody that can, it's like I talked about the Hogan match. Go out and get beat on, take the finisher, pop the crowd by kicking out, hit my own finisher, and then pose, and the crowd's home happy. The whole 3 punches, body slam, big boot, have a nice day. I need somebody that can do that. I need somebody that's magnetic, both in television, but also can do that to somebody in the 50th row of a arena, and can also go to middle management at a TV station and be absolutely charming. Can go to Arsenio and look like absolute wonderful. Can be acceptable by everybody in the whole family. But my bigger issue is I need somebody that can stand up to the pressure, because you got to remember, he is going to be my number one tool to basically destroy the territory system. He's going to go to the AWA and destroy it. He's going to go to Big Time Wrestling and destroy it. He's going to go to Florida and destroy it. He's going to go to Texas and destroy it. He's going to go to LA and destroy it. And basically be able to sleep at night. So he's got to be able to do what he's told, to show up when he needs to, and to do everything in his power to make himself as big as possible and still be able to function the next day. And I don't think you can really undersell that, because you got to think what all Hogan had to go through pretty much for 4 years straight before the WWF was able to dominate wrestling, basically with only one other contender in the United States. And that says a lot. I mean, could you see Don Morocco hosting Saturday Night Live? Absolutely not. He's, not happening. Could you see Harley Race hosting Saturday Night Live? No. So who can you replace Hogan with? And the names that always come out whenever you ask somebody like Jim Cornette, who could have done the Hogan job? Say, let's imagine an alternate world where Hogan makes it as a guitar player and he ends up being bass guitarist for Aerosmith, or he gets his leg broken first day of training and just doesn't come back, or for whatever reason, Vern Gagne's daughter is that much hotter. Hogan marries her and stays in the AWA and never goes anywhere. But let's just say Hogan is completely off the table. He's never a wrestler outside of seeing him as a touring member of, the Grateful Dead. We never hear of him. All right. So the names that they always come up with, Kerry Von Erich, that's a non-starter. There's no way Vince is able to go anywhere hitching his wagon up to Kerry Von Erich. I mean, the guy couldn't run Texas and still show up for all his dates. The famous story about before Super Clash, where he's so coked out of his mind, just going up against Jerry Lawler at the Sportatorium, he's cutting his own arm open and is so coked out of his mind he can't see straight. Ric Flair talks about being able to basically have to wrestle the broom handle match because Kerry Von Erich is so out of it. Could you imagine Kerry Von Erich having to sell out WrestleMania? Could you imagine him having to go up against Andre the Giant WrestleMania 3 and being able to basically walk a straight line, let alone perform at any measure? No, Kerry Von Erich, there's no way. He's got the body, he's got the build, he's not a good talker at all, but he's decent. There's no way Kerry Von Erich does anything close to what Hogan's able to do. Snuka's always thrown out there. Not possible. Even if you had Albana doing his talking for him, no, you're not putting Jimmy Superfly Snuka on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Yes, he's got the body. Yes, he can sell posters out the wazoo. Yes, he can move ice cream bars, but there's no way he's going to middle management at WKRP and winning him over with any kind of personal charisma. I'm sorry. And I know people that have met him. On to potentials. I mean, Dan McGee, don't even start. Even though I do kind of wonder if you could have grabbed a regular bodybuilder and taught them how to do the Hogan match, absolutely. But the charisma, that's an aspect that you just can't get over. I think there's 4 people that were around and active and high level that could have done it. 5 if you really want to go with Ric Flair. But Ric Flair, again, he's a little over 6 feet tall. He's not 6'7". He's not 300 pounds. He's not exactly giant killer type guy, but he's not really pose, send the fans home happy, thrilled. So I don't think he could do it. Obviously, he's got charisma to burn. And I think if Vince tweaks his formula, Flair could have pulled it off. And obviously he could handle the pressure. I mean, I don't think doing the whole destroying all the territory days, I don't think Flair would have had a problem with it. I think he's got the magnetism. Could he have been 80% successful pushing Flair that way? I mean, obviously Flair could do a leg drop. I mean, the running knee drop or whatever. I'm sure having Kamala tap out to the figure 4 is something he could have done. Maybe he develops. Hogan used the Axe Bomber in Japan. It's not like Flair couldn't have come up with some kind of finishing maneuver. I mean, he could have even done the top rope splash and finished him off that way. But again, he's not the big muscle-bound T-shirt selling mastermind. So could he have been 80% successful in the WWF being that? Maybe. But I don't think Flair is the guy that Vince is really going to push all his wagons to. So my 4 guys that possibly could have done it. Okay. Ricky Steamboat, obviously. Straight face, no problem whatsoever. Could definitely sell posters. Definitely has got the maneuver. Definitely has the charisma. Definitely was a better worker. I don't know if he's as good a talker as Hogan as far as like selling T-shirts. I mean, what are you gonna do when the dragon spits fire on you? I don't think that sells that many T-shirts, to be quite honest with you. And again, I think he's more successful as a number 2 babyface. I don't think he's a number 1 by any stretch of the imagination. Could Hogan have done it? I don't know. I don't think Ricky Steamboat really wants to be the top guy for 3-4 years that it would take. And I don't think you get to WrestleMania 4 with Ricky Steamboat as your top guy. I think he's like I think by WrestleMania 3, Vince is looking to replace him. And I don't think you really get the heights that you would have got with Hogan. Like I said, 80% maybe, 75% maybe. I definitely think that, he could have used him to get a lot more fan attention, but I don't think he pushes that charisma over the top where it's basically, even when you read about a wrestling story on ESPN, they talk WWF, even though it's not a WWF wrestler. They're not the brand, they're a brand. Next up, a lot of people don't think about it. Curt Hennig's around at this point in time, which again, I think he's a better talker. I think he's a better worker. I don't think he's definitely got the respect for the business. He's got the lineage. I think he's very good in person. I think he can move the crowd to do whatever he wants, but I don't think he can push face as long as Hogan did. I think Curt Hennig, after a while, again, he's a smaller guy. I don't know if he's really got it's not like Perfect Plex is going to go on a poster, but I don't think he's got that 50th row charisma to make you really want to push him. And again, while he's got the body, especially later on in his career, I don't think he's faced long enough to really make it again. I think by WrestleMania 3, they're looking to do something else. Sergeant Slaughter, again, I think he's fine with everything up to the point of being able to do what he's told for the next 4 years. Again, there's a reason why he went back to the AWA, because he whined about every dime he could find, and that's when they kind of wanted to do the G.I. Joe thing, that kind of killed his career. It made it in some circumstances, but it killed it in the others. And again, I just don't think there's the body size that he needed, and I do kind of wonder if you can run that Slaughter gimmick out that far. I just don't think that possibly happens. In another world, I kind of wonder what Sergeant Slaughter would have done, because obviously the Reagan administration would have loved him. So I kind of wonder what that would have happened. And obviously you don't get the steroid scandal later on. But I just don't think that Slaughter versus Bundy WrestleMania 2 really pushes that over the top. Finally, Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura obviously has the body. He's got the physique. He's got the persona. He's got the electricity. He could do everything Hogan can do up until day after WrestleMania 1. Jesse's wanting an extra zero on that paycheck. He's wanting an extra bonus on that. He's looking at the numbers. And I think after a while, Hogan was without a doubt selfish. He was without a doubt a me type of guy. But I think that Ventura pushes that to another level where it's not so much a partnership, it's more an employee type thing. And I think the only way Vince makes Ventura happy is to give him part of the company. That way he shuts him up. But I just don't think that, even if Ventura doesn't get hurt, I just don't think he's that long-standing answer. And I think after a while, again, you're kind of looking at, can he pull face off for the next 5 years? And I just quite simply don't think he can. So again, who do you replace Hogan with? There's nobody really that you get close to it. Now, let's wiggle a couple of years. Let's say that Vince waits till 85 to do it. Well, again, then you kind of open yourself up for a few more characters. I mean, let's keep in mind, Ultimate Warrior's not even wrestling yet whenever Hogan signs with the WWF. Whenever he leaves the AWA, Ultimate Warrior's not even a wrestler yet. He's still in training, basically. And he doesn't even break out till Texas for a couple more years. Let's keep in mind, Ultimate Warrior's only 6'2", so he's not like he's a huge guy either. Another name that gets thrown up is Magnum TA. I think Magnum TA could have done it. I mean, obviously, the body-making machinery was there. I think Magnum TA could have done it. I think he's got the charisma to burn, but I don't think he pulls the kids in that Hogan does. I mean, obviously, he's handsome. Obviously, the men and women aspects, no problem whatsoever, but I don't really think he pulls the kids in. I think that's an issue. I think that's something that Hogan did better than pretty much anybody in wrestling history, was pull kids and the entire family into watching wrestling. And I don't think Magnum TA can do that. Plus, I think, to be quite honest with you, Magnum TA would have loved to have been the heel fighter against Hulk Hogan more than being Hulk Hogan. Another one that you really kind of look at that I think possibly could have pulled it up had Vince waited a year, maybe even 2 years, is Randy Savage. Now, keep this in mind here. Randy Savage is 6'2", 230 pounds. So he is not the giant killer type guy. He's a giant killer type guy. He's not the giant guy. I mean, Hogan's got him by, almost 6 inches. He's got him by close to 80 pounds. So walking in the door, Randy Savage doesn't pull that kind of magnetism to everybody. But again, he outworks everybody. He's a much better talker. He can outdraw as far as merchandise and all that. He's definitely good with middle management. He's definitely good on TV. He's definitely got that magnetism. So I think if Vince is able to maybe adjust the villain aspect, I think Randy's able to pull it off. Is he able to do it as well? That's a bit of a question mark because, again, can Randy Savage pull face off years after years after years? And I honestly think he can, but I don't know if you do it with the Elizabeth aspect. I think that had a lot to do with getting Savage over early, and I don't know if Savage is able to do it without kind of like that crutch to lean on. So I kind of wonder if Savage is the guy that could have replaced Hulkamania. 90%, I think, is entirely within the realm of possibility. 95%, I think, is entirely possible. So yeah, that's why I think Hogan's the better wrestler, because he did his job better than anybody else at that time on the planet that could have succeeded in doing what he could have done. I mean, Savage is as close as you could have come, in my personal opinion. Now, we flip over to Ric Flair. Who could have done Flair's job? Well, I mean, shoot, Terry Funk did his job. Harley Race did his job. None of them as successful, and none of them really for that long, but they all could have done it. But who could have done Flair's job? Well, I mean, shoot, all you got to do is look at a picture of the Four Horsemen. The next Ric Flair is right there beside him. Tully Blanchard could have easily done everything Ric Flair did. This is not a pressure type situation, because even though Tully has his own demons, I don't think the big pressure of being NWA World Champion would have done that much different than what Tully Blanchard would have done as a member of the Four Horsemen, as TV champion back when that really meant something, as tag team champion and all the other stuff. Could he have could you have formed the Four Horsemen around Tully Blanchard? Absolutely, and I don't think they would have missed that much. Now, let's keep in mind, you are looking at a 10 worker in Ric Flair versus a 10 worker in Tully Blanchard. You're looking at a 10 talker in Ric Flair, maybe a 9.5 with Tully Blanchard. You are looking at a magnetism that Ric Flair carries, and Tully Blanchard's maybe an 8.5. But again, it's that NWA brand. It's that, the title gives you that extra point and a half, just because you're going to pop a crowd in the Sportatorium just by having the NWA champion come in, no matter who it is. You're going to pop a territory in Florida just by having the champion showing up. I mean, Tommy Rich, carried the title and could pop a crowd. But that, who could have, standing up against Dusty Rhodes, standing up against Sting, standing up against Luger, standing up against Harley Race, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, all these guys, Tully Blanchard could have had matches with all of them. And remember, being in the NWA, it's not so much working a formula, it's working the crowd, it's showing work rate. And Tully Blanchard had no problem with that. And it's entirely possible that I think Tully Blanchard could have done what all Flair could have done as a heel. Not to mention the fact, I think Magnum TA could have done it had he not gotten hurt. I could definitely see him being a heel champion running in and out. Randy Savage, again, no problem whatsoever. I think, again, you wiggle a couple of more years, you get him a little more seasoning. I think Randy Savage easily could have done the NWA Championship and gone from place to place to place and escaped with the skin of his teeth. Randy Savage is, especially the WF run, is basically a perfect heel. You look at Baby Doll, the perfect 10. Well, here's Elizabeth, etc. and so forth. So I think that Flair, while not completely replaceable, but do I think you do a 100% up until the WCW sale? Do I think you could have done that with Tully Blanchard? Absolutely. I don't think there's, as they say, no doubt about it. Do I think you could have done it with somebody like Barry Windham? That's entirely possible. Once he really becomes that good, I think he could have been a very viable NWA champion for a couple of more years. Now, if you really want to do the Hogan thing, and you have to like pick somebody in the last, say, 30 years that could have done exactly what Hogan could have done, there's only one guy I think that could have done everything Hogan did. And I don't even think and I think there's one aspect that really kills him, and that's Sting. Sting could have sold the t-shirt. Sting could have got the kids. Sting could have got the family. Sting had the body. Sting had the marquee face. Sting, had the high impact maneuver. I mean, the Scorpion Death Drop, he could have used that in 1983 and really gotten that over. He could have done everything Hogan did except one instance. Sting's not that good a talker, especially in the early 80s when he first came out. Sting just is not that good on a mic. Could you have paired him with somebody else to do the talking for him or taught him how to do the talking? I don't see why not. I think you could have made Sting a better talker. But I think Sting's the only one pretty much in recent memory that could have done everything Hogan did. And keep in mind, Sting's not that huge either. But again, I think Hogan's the harder guy to replace and replicate. I don't think Flair that much is. I think you could have got just as successful with Tully as you could have with Flair. And I don't think you would have skipped that much of a beat. I think you still pop the crowd in Jackson, Mississippi with Tully coming in as the WWE champion as you would have with Flair as your champion. I don't see you popping the crowd for WrestleMania 1 with Superfly versus Roddy Piper. Now, could you have been that successful without Piper, where it had been Hogan versus Orndorff or Hogan versus Bob Orton? That's a completely different subject. But I definitely don't think without Hogan on the one side of the card, I don't think the WWF is near as monstrous as it is. Now, again, if you really want to go all world, could you have put Austin in that position? Sure. I think you could do it with Austin, but I don't think he's the family-friendly type guy. I don't think Hogan coming down to the ring swilling beers and stunning everybody in the arena, I don't think that quite works. I think he's more of a product of his time. Now, that is my own personal opinion. If there's somebody else you want to throw out to me, by all means. If there's somebody you think could have done Hogan's job, I'd love to hear it. I really, like I said, I don't have anybody else that I could really think of that could do it. But that is going to bring this week's B-side to a close. I want to thank you for listening. By all means, throw any comments down below. And next week, I'm going to go into yet another nerd category, and we're going to talk zombies. Make sure you hit the website, 7poundbag.com. Y'all have a wonderful day.